Good morning. I'm Mike with Cor-Form. Today we're going to talk about the installation process of our product, Cor-Form. But first, you're probably saying, what is Cor-Form and why is it applicable to me? So let's say you get a renovation project in construction and you go in, you perform all of your demo on that job. At that point, you realize you got a bunch of holes in the floor that you need to fill in. Well, traditionally, what are you going to do? It's likely you're going to go to the floor below, you're going to climb up into the ceiling and fasten something over to the bottom of the hole. That way you can back up above it and fill the hole with concrete. Anybody that's done this before realizes that this is a time-consuming and sometimes a pain in the neck process because you got to talk to the tenants below and try and get into that space. Likely you're going to have to do it off hours. It's very likely the hole that you're trying to access is going to be over furniture, so you got to stage over furniture, cover it with plastic, clean up when you're done. And that doesn't count having to go into the ceiling and possibly hitting HVAC systems or some kind of mechanical system that might be in your way when you're trying to get to the hole. That being said, what do? Well, that's why we have Cor-Form. Cor-Form is available to fill this hole without having to access the floor below. So we have this as a demonstration tool. This is a 4-inch hole and this is a 5-inch, or simulated a 5-inch slab thickness. So with our product, this is a Cor-Form. It's basically a sheet metal shape, and what you do is you take these arms, as you have it here, and you fold these up. Now, you can do this by hand, but the idea is to try and get as tight a bend as you possibly can here. So if you just go to this point, it might not be tight enough. So I recommend, if you're doing this by hand, to bend it all the way over and then come back. And that will help tighten up that bend. Otherwise, I use a pair of pliers. That gives you a much tighter bend and it's much easier to bend when you're going through the process. So get these bent up. Now when you do bend them, you don't want to bend them to a 90-degree angle. You want to bend them slightly less so that they flare out a little bit. That way, when you set this down in the hole, it's going to hold itself in place when you go to anchor it in so it doesn't fall through. Now at the top of these arms, you'll see that you got a hole here. The intent is when you drop this down in the hole, you're going to get the top of this arm to be just below the surface of the floor. Then you'll go through that hole and drill a hole and set a concrete anchor. So this is pretty much ready to set. We're going to drop this down in our hole, push it down, right, just so that the tops of these are below the surface of the floor. All set. It's that easy. So at this point, you've got it set in place. This simulation is just wood, so I'm not going to bother drilling the holes, but in a normal situation, you'll drill into that hole and set a concrete anchor. You do it for each of these. There's only 4. It only takes a few minutes, and at that point, that's set in place. You can technically pour that hole at that point and not be bothered. It'll be fine. What I recommend is that at the bottom of that hole, at the perimeter of the circle, you fire cock that in. Not only is that going to help your fire rating, but that's also going to help you from, if you make, when you mix your concrete and it's a little bit thin, it'll keep from getting any drips down to the floor below. If you mix it kind of stiff, then you're not going to have a problem. If you decide to use pour rock and you're really diligent with your caulking, you won't have any problems. Secondly, I recommend that you put some kind of rebar or rods in this hole in an effort to help the shear strength. Now, Cor-Form is not intended to be a permanent structural component to this application. It's really just there to help you form this and pour it and let it cure without having to go to the floor below. So if you put some rods in here or rebar or whatever you want to use, that's going to help the overall long-term strength of this. So if you get a point load over this hole, then it's going to hold in place and help the shear strength. So it's that easy. It's probably a 5 to 7 minute application or installation process, provided you have all your stuff with you. So if there's any questions about this product, you can catch us at Cor-Form.com. That's www.cor-form.com, and it's that easy. I hope to see your name on the next order. I'll see you in the future. Thank you.